Seeds Sandwich, Shining Armor, A True Love by Switched Out. Ever since Shining Armor became the captain of the guard in Candelot, he takes his work and his duty as a captain very proudly. Even though he's the captain of the Royal Guard, many of the other Royal Guards had often asked him if he was interested in some of their friends, like dating something. But Shining Armor had to admit, some of his guards are actually having very beautiful male friends. But at the moment he was not much in for dating. But every time when he visited his family, especially his parents, who also lived in Canterlot, not so far away from the castle itself, often ask him if he had found his special stone pony yet, and even his father tried to encourage him to find some pony. Shining Armor, it has been 2 years since you moved out, and you haven't found your own special stone pony yet. How is that? Well, father, you know that I am focused mostly on my duty. I can't spend much, and I don't have much spare time. You know that. And even you had your own time, and you have your permission as leave as a royal guard. And sometimes. But what don't you even do socialize with other mayors? Perhaps one of your guard friends, maybe they have some mayors so you can spend some time with, maybe settle down with and start a family. Shining Armor had explained to his father that he had actually met some of his guards' friends, but at some point most of them were actually, well, not as interested to him. Even his mother had often told him to not to force into a relationship with any pony. Not because he has any feelings or anything like that, but he has to be sure if he has any feelings. Because having a relationship with some pony that with no feelings for, it's nothing like a, there's nothing, it isn't love. And his father hasn't given up patience to find some pony for Shining Armor. But secretly, his father had tried to set up some blind dates or secret dates for Shining Armor during his permission leave from duty. And it happens that even one time when he comes home to his parents for a visit, surprisingly enough, there always often is a young mare around his age on visit. Sometimes there is a daughter to some of his friends or his mother's friends. And they, especially his father, encouraged him to at least take this mare out for a date to get to know her. And he often do it not because he doesn't want to argue with his father, but he wants to get his father at least happy, so he doesn't argument or anything. But one day, when he had his permission leave from castle duty, he decided not to go to his parents this time. He decided to go to Ponyville to visit his sister, Princess Alicorn Twilight Sparkle. He hasn't seen his sister ever since she became a princess, and that was at least 6 months ago. And Twilight was happy to see him again after so long time, and they did everything the best they could, spend a lot of time together, talk, play games, mostly chess or other favorite game from their childhood. But Twilight had noticed something was wrong with her brother. Shining Armor, is there something wrong? She asked. Shining Armor was a little bit quiet at first, but then he admitted something was some bothering him. Yes, in fact, there is. You know, father has always tried to get me settled down with a mare. Again? Hasn't he stopped yet? She asked. No, he hasn't. He has tried and always, for even for the past few months, that he tried to set me up with another male friend, or some of his daughters or one of his friends, and I always said yes and take them out. There's no way for me to even start talking to her father, that saying that I'm not interested in embarrass myself in front of her and especially for my father, and that she has to then go home telling her parents, and that her parents will talk to my for dad, and that's not going to end in a bad cycle. Only Twilight was just nodded. She realized it. And actually, for the past few weeks, even her father had tried to write a letter to Twilight, asking her if she had found her special sound pony yet, and asking her if she hasn't, maybe that he could maybe ask her if she wanted maybe perhaps see one of his friend's sons. But Twilight had said a lie at first, that she actually had been seeing this particular stallion, but she hasn't said who it is. She wasn't even sure if this wasn't any serious relationship yet. They only been seen at least for a couple of times, but she just wanted to make sure this relationship is serious before she mentioned his name or introduced him to her family. But in fact, this particular stallion turns out to be a royal guard from Canton, from Crystal Empire. It was actually Flash Sentry. But Shining Armor, your dad has a point. You had to find your special zone pony sometime. Yes, I know, but my dad hasn't really get much attention about this, and I want to find my special zone pony in my time, my right. It's my own decision. Father can't decide to put one of his someone from for me. Isn't is it funny, or even it isn't really that much I can do about. And Twilight realized that. But Shining Armor, you had to find your special someone. Twilight, not you also, please. I know you want me to be happy, but please. I know that you want me to find special someone, but believe me. I will. Just give some time. Be patient, like father. But deep down, Shining Armor has been wondering in doubt if he ever will find his special someone. And the next day, when after he arrived in Ponyville, he walked around in town, greeting some of his friends there, and then he actually ran into some pony. Oh, sorry. Ah, that's okay, said Miss Saw. It was actually She's Sandwich. Sandwich had actually moved to Ponyville only about a couple of months ago. He and Pinky had started this kind of small business together as party organizers. They were not as a couple, they used friends working together to make their business to work. He took care of that while Pinky was taking care of Sugar Cube Corner or something else. After that, they actually been talking to each other, Shining Armor and Steve Sandwich. They talked to each other for a bit before Siege had to go back to his business. At the moment, something felt differently. Shining Armor felt his heart was beating faster. It was like he was skipping a beat. He hasn't felt this in a long time. He didn't realize at first what this feeling was about. So when he came back to the castle, he didn't do much except talking to Twilight or eating some lunch with her. Then he asked her about Steve's sandwich, and she explained to him that he moved there a couple of months ago. They have been helping Pinkie Pie pretending to do business together, and she asked why for suddenly that he explained that he ran into him at the street, and something was differently feeling for him, that he felt happy and his heart was skipping beats. And then Twilight realized, oh my goodness. Who is it, Twilight? He asked. I think what was wrong with you, Shining Armor? Oh? I think you are in love. In love? He asked. Shining Armor was completely off. That took him off the guard. Are you saying I am in love with Steve Sandwich? I believe so, yeah. That was something that Shining Armor didn't expect to this feeling to be about. But how will our parents react to this? They often believe that I will find a mare, not a stallion, to be with. Twilight realized that, but she knows that Shining Armor would be accepted by their parents, except even that he is dating a mare or a stallion. Shining Armor, this is in a new time, the new era, new age. Doesn't matter, because I asked a couple of friends across the Christian, they dating other mares or stallions, they are the same gender. And Shining Armor knows that there is even one of his royal guards actually also dating a stallion. And he came out to his guards and his own family. They also support him. But Shining Armor is very curious and mostly afraid, especially to his father, that he will never speak to him again after if even he tells him. So Shining Armor asked Twilight not to tell the rest of the family or her friends, no pony, about this. She promised. Because Shining Armor needed to think about this himself and to even ask Steve Sandwich if he would even possibly could consider to be with a stallion. That night, Shining Armor couldn't sleep much. He was lying in bed, staring at the roof, and didn't do much, just thinking about him and that possibility to be with Steve Sandwich. But he decided the next morning, by going to the sugar corner, to talk to Steve Sandwich. Even though the feeling to be rejected, not being as only be friends, but he decided to tell him or even ask him about the same question. The next morning, around 10 p.m., he woke up. After breakfast, he waited to around noon to go to the sugar corner to talk to Steve Sandwich. He then told Twilight about this, and she gave him a big smile, a hug, and said, "Good luck," and he left. On the way there, he was so nervous. He didn't know how to react, but he tried to keep calm, and after he get there, he asked Pinkie where Steve Sandwich is, and she points in the kitchen. So he thanks her and goes in. And they start talking. Of all suddenly, Steve Sandwich kissed Shining Armor on the cheek, which made him blush a lot. It turns out Steve Sandwich had actually a secret crush on Shining Armor for the past year. But they haven't even spoken much as only a couple of times before when he was in Camelot during a party organization. Then they came a question if he would date him, and he did. They actually went out the same day. They went to this cafe and then to movies, and they actually went out several times during his week there. But then he had to go back home to Camelot since his leave was over. He was now scared, mostly that he's about to tell his parents about this. Just before the day before that he's going back to the castle, he decided to give his parents a visit. Now he was both scared and nervous, but mostly terrified, especially when his father is going to find out about this. After they met his parents, they first drank some tea, talking a little bit, just to break this silence and just to make that doesn't feel to be awkward. And then his father asked, "So, Shining Armor, have you found your special soul pony yet?" At first it was a bit quiet. His parents looked at him when he tried to avoid the blushing and said, "Yes, I kinda have," said Shining Armor. Both his parents looked at each other and thought, this was something new. "So, who is this lucky girl?" she asked his mother. "This lucky girl isn't a girl, actually." "Are you saying this special stone pony is a stallion?" Now, Shining Armor was more terrified. He was believing that his father is going to be outraged and disown him, part of the family, and never speak to him. "Yes, father, it is a stallion." And before he could finish, "So you're saying my own son dating a stallion rather than a mare?" "Who is this stallion?" he asked. "It is Seed Sandwich from Ponyville." "Seed Sandwich?" said his mother. "I heard that name. Isn't he like the sister's friend, Pinkie Pie, party organizer? I saw him here in Camelot listed a year ago, I think." "Yes, that's him." "Well, I'm proud of you, my son," she said. But his father, he was quiet. He wasn't even looking mad or something, just stared at Shining Armor, and he said, "Well, Shining Armor, I'm sorry to have forced you to dating these mares. Well, not without realizing you were all into stallions." But then Shining Armor broke the silence. "Well, father, mother, in fact, I wasn't even sure he was even into mares or stallions. I was just not even sure myself until I ran into Sea Sandwich. And I'm hoping that you would accept me as who I am, and even accept him, maybe part of the family someday." And that took his parents, looked at each other, and said, "Well, of course we do. No matter what, if you're dating a stallion or a mare, we don't care if you love in a mare or a stallion at all. We're still a son. And like you're saying, he's a great stallion. He's a very good personality. From all the good stories I heard about him, and even seeing him organize his party with, as your mother said, he seems to be a great stallion. I'm happy for you, my son." Shining Armor was off. He didn't expect that from his own father. And in fact, it turns out, the next couple of months later, Shining Armor brought over Sea Sandwich to meet his parents. But they actually enjoyed his company, always breaking some good jokes, and it didn't take long. Only about 2 years later, Shining Armor actually proposed to Sea Sandwich, and he said yes. This is going to be one of the biggest weddings in the Canterlot during the whole year. And Twilight was happy to find that her brother had found his special sound pony and was now getting married. Shining Armor and Sea Sandwich they celebrate their honeymoon in Crystal Empire for 2 weeks. And barely only about 3 years later, they decided to start a family. So they actually went to a local orphanage in Ponyville, which they both stayed and lived together, and adopted 4 children, 2 daughters and 2 sons. And both they were actually very deeply in love with each other. And that's how Shining Armor sees sandwich from the true love got a big family. The end.